Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will start our next topics from the chapter The Mughal Dynasty 2. Please go through all these pages from 110 to 118. Before we start our next topics, just make a quick recap of the last topics we have discussed about the Jahangir and his reign. Also we have discussed about Jahangir's court and his love of beauty and nature. Our next topic is the king of the world, the Emperor Shah Jahan. Who was Shah Jahan? Prince Khurram. He was the eldest son of Jahangir. He is famous by the name Shah Jahan. Before becoming emperor, he exiled from Delhi and went to live in Thatta. He became emperor in 1627. Shah Jahan has also built a beautiful mosque, which is also considered as the landmark, the Shah Jahan Mosque. The architecture of Shah Jahan Mosque is also pretty much important to be discussed. It has 3 tombs and decorated with glazed tiles in shades of blue and white. The famous Peacock Throne. The literal meaning of Shah Jahan. First we have to discuss it. King of the world. The Peacock Throne was considered as the peacock was considered as the sign of power in the subcontinent. So Shah Jahan has built a peacock throne for himself. His worth was more than 10 million at this time. The throne was considered as the symbol of glory of Mughal rule and was kept in the Red Fort at Delhi until it was stolen by the Persian in 1739. The next topic is Shah Jahan's religious policy. He was a true follower of Islam. He started again the celebration of Islamic festival during his reign, also allowed pilgrims to visit Makkah and Medina. He also built new mosques. Next topic is Mughal Empress Mumtaz Mahal. Mumtaz Mahal was the niece of Noor Jahan. She was promised in marriage to Prince Khurram when she was just 14 years old. Their marriage took place in Agra. She was considered as a kind-hearted lady. Mumtaz Mahal died in 1631 at the age of 39. Shah Jahan was deeply upset. He put on white mourning clothes and did not carry out any official duties for a week. For 2 years, he gave up wearing expensive clothes, perfumes, and jewels. He would not listen to music. He never married again. Shah Jahan built a famous mausoleum, the Taj Mahal, for Mumtaz Mahal. Let's discuss about something regarding his sons. Shah Jahan had 4 sons. The eldest one name was Dara Shikoh. The second prince was Aurangzeb and the 2 youngest were Shuja and Murad. Shah Jahan didn't trust Prince Aurangzeb. On one occasion, Aurangzeb wanted to make money through sea trading. By the mid-17th century, sand had blocked up the harbour. In 1652, Aurangzeb planned a new port at Cucurello on the Sindh coast and ordered a ship to be built. But Aurangzeb's enemies told Shah Jahan that the prince wanted to get rich in order to raise up against him and take the throne. Before the port was finished, Shah Jahan asked Aurangzeb to explain his plans. As a result, Aurangzeb seems to have stopped building the port. In 1657, because of ill health, Shah Jahan handed over his power to Dara, his eldest son. But once again, the Mughals fought over the throne. Each of Dara's younger brothers raised enemies to try to take the throne from him. Aurangzeb defeated Dara and Murad in battle. Our next topic is the end of Shah Jahan. At Agra, Shah Jahan had shut himself inside Agra fort. Aurangzeb's army surrounded it, and Shah Jahan was persuaded to retire to Agra fort. His eldest daughter, Jahan Ara, looked after him. In 1666, at the age of 74, Shah Jahan died. According to legend, when he was on his deathbed, Shah Jahan kept on his eyes fixed on the Taj Mahal, which he could see from his apartment. The next topic is the jewel in the throne of Emperor Aurangzeb. As many of the people said that Aurangzeb was considered a man with brilliant mind. Also, some of people commented that he was a man with brilliant mind, but he was of complex personality and not everyone liked him. He was a fabulous emperor with all his significant treasures, superb cities, forts, and places. He found pleasure in his new grandeur. The emperor when he was already aged 40. At the time he became emperor, as one of the historian has said, a fabulous empire was his, with all its significant treasures, superb cities, forts, and places, and vast human resources. He mounted the peacock throne, wore the imperial jewels, viewed the treasures of the library, inscribing his name in many of its great manuscripts, listened to the court musicians, and carried out the traditions of artistic patronage. Our next topic is Aurangzeb's life and the rules. Prince Aurangzeb became emperor in 1658. Aurangzeb means jewel in the throne. He was crowned as Alamgir I, the seizure of the universe. The ceremony was being held at Agra on a day which the royal astrologers said was very lucky. There was 2 months of festivities before the day of enthronement. Aurangzeb was the ruler for almost 50 years, and under his rule, the Mughal Empire became the largest empire there had ever been in the subcontinent. Aurangzeb was highly intelligent and a good scholar. He knew Arabic, Persian, Turkish, and Hindi. Like other Mughal princes, he was also trained in calligraphy and became an expert in the art. At a very early age, he memorized the Quran and Hadith. He copied out the Quran several times and gave the copies as presents to mosques in the subcontinent, Makkah and Medina. Aurangzeb was a fearless warrior and personally led his army until he was over 80 years old. Here is the expansion of empire during Aurangzeb's time. Mughal architecture. Aurangzeb continued the great Mughal tradition of building. He built many mosques, including Badshahi Mosque at Lahore, the mosque at Banaras, and also the mosque at Srinagar, which is still largest in Kashmir. Aurangzeb brings Islamic ideas to his reign. Aurangzeb was a devoted Muslim. As his rule continued, he began to live simply and did not eat, drink, or dress in a way that he believed was against Islam. Life at the court changed and Aurangzeb became more religious. He introduced Sharia law and appointed officials called muhtasibs to ensure people complied. He stopped wearing silk clothes and made his courtiers follow his example. In 1665, he shut down the painting workshops at court and plastered over the wall paintings in his palace. In 1668, he banned singing and dancing at court. In 1670, he banned court astrologers and the solar calendar, which he had been using since the time of Akbar, and Hindu festivals associated with the solar year. He made zenana smaller. He also stopped the practice of weighing the emperor on his birthday. He prohibited the use of Quranic verses on coins. He banned the celebration of the Persian New Year Day. The next topic is opposition faced by Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb wanted to unite the subcontinent under Islam. He brought back the jizya tax and encouraged education in schools and colleges. This created a great discontent among the non-Muslims, including Rajputs, Jats, Marathas, and Sikhs, who turned against his religious policies, and this resulted into rebellions. Fighting the rebels. In 16th century, the valleys of Swat and Bajaur were conquered by Pathans. Although Jahangir and Shah Jahan had very little trouble with the Pathans, in 1667 they rebelled and took the towns of Attock and Peshawar. Aurangzeb defeated them in 1674 after fierce fighting, but his army was weakened by the loss of many soldiers. In 1672, Aurangzeb also put down rebellions by the Satnamis in Mewar, a sect of fanatical Hindu holy men, the Jats in Gopal. The Sikh religion had started in Punjab in the 16th century with its focus as the Golden Temple at Amritsar. By the time of Aurangzeb, the Sikhs had their ninth Guru, Tej Bahadur. Sikhs also rebelled against the new rule, but the Sikh religion was attracting Muslim converts. In 1675, Aurangzeb ordered the Guru to come to his court. When the Guru refused to convert to Islam, he was executed. Sikhs became angry, and in 1699 their Guru leader Gobind Singh formed an armed group of well-trained Sikhs called the Khalsa. Within a few days, it had 80,000 members. Khalsa taught battles with local chiefs until one of Aurangzeb's sons defeated them. But the Sikhs continued to oppose the Mughals. Since the reign of the Emperor Akbar from 1556 to 1605, the Rajput princes of Rajasthan had been accepted at court and given positions of honor. Now Aurangzeb's treatment angered them and they rebelled. In 1659, Shivaji Bhosle led a revolt by the Hindu Marathas people of Deccan. Over many years, both sides took and retook key places such as Golconda, Bijaypur, and Purandar without a definite outcome. Aurangzeb lost an estimated 20% of his forces in this rebellion. Later on, in 1681, the Marathas became that troublesome that Aurangzeb moved to Deccan to fight them and the Muslim princes whom they accused of helping them. Because of Marathas, Aurangzeb was to spend more than 20 years in the south of India, and he never returned Delhi ever. Our next topic is Aurangzeb's last years. The last years of Aurangzeb were very sad. He had imprisoned 3 of his 5 sons and a daughter. Prince Akbar had died in Persia. He had not arranged his succession and felt he could trust no one. Shortly before he died in 1707, he wrote a letter to his son, Prince Azam. Here is the reference you can go thoroughly, where he showed his grief about his last years of life. Our next topic is, why do Mughal emperor began to weaken? The empire rose to great power under the Akbar and Jahangir and kept that power by Shah Jahan. Although the Mughal Empire reached a largest extent under Aurangzeb's time, it was beginning to weaken, and after Aurangzeb's death, it went into a rapid. Although it is difficult to say for surety what's the reason behind this decline, some may blame that it was due to Aurangzeb. Some may also describe it the policies who made rebellions and other people to be against Aurangzeb, and at last the Mughal Empire began to weaken and suddenly declined. Our next topic is, why Aurangzeb's power weakened. There are some reasons like political instability, which came from rebellions by the emperor's non-Muslim subjects, and also a group of peasant warriors, the Hindu Marathas, who rose up against Aurangzeb. The factors led Aurangzeb 20 years battle against the Marathas and Shia Muslims in south. Also, ordinary people had to provide money for these wars, and they struggled to pay high taxes and blamed Aurangzeb for their poverty. Our next topic is famine and plague in the Mughal lands. Mughal emperor lived in the palaces and forts in a great luxury and splendor. Many ordinary people died in a series of famine and plagues across the empire. There were several famines and plagues hit India in Akbar's reign. The worst began is about 1595 with a drought and lasted for 3 years. Many people died. In some areas, the streets were blocked by dead bodies. In 1616, in Jahangir's reign, bubonic plague hit Punjab before spreading to other areas. In Shah Jahan's reign, a famine from 1630 to 1632 killed many people and affected the cloth trade. In Aurangzeb's reign, an English traveller also reported a serious famine. He said there was no longer any distinction of caste, and the Sudra and the Brahmin were indistinguishable. Fruits, flowers, every vegetable thing, even trees were stripped of their bark to appease the cravings of hunger. Men ate men. Cities were depopulated. That's all for today. Thank you so much.